Hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Scherer, and this is the Citizen Sports Weekly for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. Robert Harding on Baby Watch. Justin Ritzel on Rodgers Watch. Oh boy. Yeah, let's not beat around the bush. Well, actually, before we get started about Aaron Rodgers, Robert, obviously a big day is coming up pretty soon. Your wife, Sarah, is going to be giving birth pretty soon, and this may be your last video with us for a little while. So,
Couple weeks, yeah. We'll talk off air about the plans going forward, but yeah, it's I won't divulge too many details, but let's just say come this time next week, we could have a baby arriving. So, looking forward to that. It'll be one of the great gifts, especially in this month. This is the month that I lost my dad 13 years ago. So talk about, both ends of the spectrum. That was the worst moment of my life. This will be the greatest. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So Aaron Rodgers got COVID. That was a surprise. Then we find out Aaron Rodgers not vaccinated. That was a shock. And we're fortunate that we have Justin Ritzel here, our resident Packers fan.
Packers owner in waiting.
Justin, you get first shot at it. Your thoughts about what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers?
It ain't good, Chris. It ain't good.
No.
You guys know I am a staunch Aaron Rodgers supporter. I've considered him my not only favorite football player, but my favorite athlete for quite a while. Ever since he became the starter in 2008, won a Super Bowl, won 3 MVPs. I have defended Aaron Rodgers at pretty much every turn. I understand he's not the perfect person. He's had issues. He's been called out for his leadership style and all that, but I have always given him the benefit of the doubt. You think back to this offseason when all the drama was going on about whether he was going to come back to the Packers and all that. And then he came back to training camp and called out the organization for things that he felt were not being handled correctly. And I didn't agree with necessarily every single point of it, but I absolutely understood his viewpoint. All that, honestly, with today's news, felt like it was thrown into the trash, because you cannot call yourself the leader of a football team and you cannot be the single most important person in an organization and then be so irresponsible to not get your vaccine shot and make yourself unavailable for, we know, 1 game at least, potentially 2. And I think this is just another example of Aaron Rodgers is a bit of a self-saboteur. Like his whole offseason when he was weighing whether he wanted to come back, the Packers had chances to sign free agents and build their team up, but they were kind of unable to do so because they would have needed to restructure Rodgers' contract. Well, they couldn't do that because they didn't know. And they couldn't add players because of it. Well, now, because their quarterback made a selfish decision to not get the vaccine or a real vaccine that's been approved and is within the NFL, health guidelines. Now he's going to miss a game. And, less than a week ago, I'm sitting here saying wow, they just beat the Cardinals. They're the number 1 seed in the NFC. Their path to having home field again, going with the NFC playoffs, going through Lambeau Field, is in their hands. And Aaron Rodgers just lit that on fire because now he can't play. It's just astonishing. And then as this whole news comes out, and obviously it's a bummer that he got COVID, but then to hear he's not vaccinated, the reports that he's been taking this special homeopathic treatment that he believes was going to prevent him from testing positive in lieu of just getting Pfizer or Moderna, or the stuff that, again, is considered an acceptable vaccination by the NFL standard. the only word that I can come down to describe this is it was selfish. I can't reasonably sit here and say after months of criticizing Cole Beasley or Carson Wentz or Kirk Cousins for choosing not to get the vaccine, especially with the two quarterbacks, understand the ramifications of they could miss games for their team. At least they were upfront about it. They said, we don't have the vaccine. Carson Wentz wears a mask on the sidelines. He wears a mask during press conferences. Whether you agree with him or not, he was open and honest. Aaron Rodgers was not open and honest. He was asked during training camp, are you vaccinated? He said, yeah, I'm immunized. And then he went on to make other comments about, I won't judge players for not being vaccinated, blah, blah, blah. I believe it's a personal decision, blah, blah, blah. But he clearly implied that he was vaccinated. Now, maybe he was based on the nonsense treatment he's been taking. But in terms of the context of the NFL, he is not. So maybe it's a bit strong to say I feel like he lied about it. He absolutely was sneaky and misleading about his vaccination status, which is just for a guy who never seems shy about, like, he doesn't care about taking criticism and all that. It seems weird where this is the line he would draw in the sand and say, I don't want to be upfront about my vaccination status. I'm afraid of the criticism. So I'm extremely disappointed in Aaron Rodgers. This is the kind of stuff when people say he's a diva and he's a drama queen. In this instance, they're right. Or when they say he's a bad leader, in this instance, they're right. And, you know, come January, if the Packers have to play in the first round because they're not the number one seed, or they have to go to Los Angeles or Tampa Bay in a playoff game and they're not at home because they lost a couple games because Aaron Rodgers didn't play, well, we can point to this moment and say, yeah, dude, you cost yourself a chance at another Super Bowl because you made a selfish decision. And that's unfortunately could be part of his legacy. And now as a Packers fan, it's unfortunate and it stinks. There's really no two ways. It's kind of changed my opinion on him and the level of respect that I had.
Well, obviously, the fact is that this is most likely his last year in Green Bay to begin with. Even before all of this was the chatter. This was going to be his last year. So, but this really, like you just said, I mean, this might cost them home field throughout the playoffs. Of course, they had home field for the NFC Championship game last year and didn't do them any good. But you know, I can't help. I have to make a small joke about this. All I can think about is like a good neighbor. Yeah. You know. Yeah. You think State Farm was really thrilled that they probably had special marketing plans for this game with Patrick Mahomes?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
The two endorsers for State Farm Insurance, and here they are. They're playing on national TV Thursday night, and you know, you knew they had some type of new commercial or something with the two of these guys together, and it's gone. I mean, that chance is gone. And yeah, it's marketing. And look, people's health is the most important thing. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers, obviously he's got COVID. We hope nothing serious happens to him. We hope he's okay in the long run. But even more importantly, we hope he doesn't spread it to somebody else who unfortunately would have a bad reaction to it and possibly die or something. Because that's ultimately what this is about. It's public health. Okay. And people want to make it about politics, whatever. Okay. But this is public health. And the idea is that we have vaccines to protect the public. Okay. And I got a vaccine and you guys got vaccines. Why? Because A, we didn't want to get COVID ourselves. And B, we didn't want to spread it to the people that we love. Okay. So that's why we got the vaccine. So irregardless, Aaron Rodgers has put his teammates at risk. He's put his loved ones at risk. I mean, you know, and like I said, it's a football game. There's more important things in life, but that's the key thing, life. And you're putting other people's lives in jeopardy. Oh, there's another pun. You're putting other people's lives in jeopardy by not getting vaccinated. That was unintentional, by the way. All right, Robert, go ahead.
Well, you really walked in that one. Look, I don't know what kind of a grizzly bear piss that Rodgers is injecting himself with, but it's quite a quite a thing to come up with, that he actually went down this road of trying to seek some sort of waiver or whatever for this alternate treatment that's been reported. Quite something. I can't wait to hear what this is that he's taking, because I went down the rabbit hole today looking for these homeopathic alternatives. And, one link kept popping up. This woman who's a homeopathic expert or something that was selling some kind of immunization pellets. And Lord knows, I don't know what these athletes are putting in them. Tom Brady eats like a rabbit, for crying out loud. So, who knows what Aaron Rodgers thought of for a vaccine alternative. But this is wild to me. I'm not going to wade into the vaccine versus, the sides of the vaccine or anything. To me, the biggest issue for Aaron Rodgers here is that he stood before a room of reporters and lied to them. Whether he thought he was being crafty with his words, or, he viewed what he had as, some sort of sufficient alternative, which clearly isn't. He was faced with a specific question, and Aaron Rodgers is smart enough to know, and I think he outsmarted himself here. He clearly was trying to show some wit and perhaps danced around the issue in his own way, but he was asked a straightforward question about being vaccinated. He knew exactly what that reporter was asking for. So this thought that, he was being crafty, no, he was being deceptive. That's what he was doing. Now, there's going to be people that say, well, why does he have to answer the reporters? Well, these are people that, whether fans like it or not, they have a relationship with the athlete. And these athletes, they don't have a great reputation to begin with. Now, I will say Aaron Rodgers has prided himself on being open, shall we say, with members of the media, that he's willing to share his views on things with them. I think that reputation takes a bit of a hit here, because when you're going around misleading people about something like this, when you could have easily, to Ritz's point earlier, you could have pulled a Josh Allen. Josh Allen said, I'm not going to go there. Whether he's vaccinated, unvaccinated, we don't know. We have, I think, based on his, various things, I think he is vaccinated, but he has not addressed that in a press conference. He was asked it and he's like, not going to go there. Aaron Rodgers could have done the same thing. Instead, he tried to be cute. And now he's paying for that, because not only was he not being truthful then, it turns out that not being vaccinated in the way that the NFL asked him to be, or at least the way that the NFL defines and really the whole world defines, he has now cost himself this game, which the Packers could easily lose this game against the Chiefs team that's trying to rebound. And then we'll see what happens the following week. I don't know who they play, Ritz, but certainly that game, I guess he could come back, that day before. But it's just a bad situation. I know he was on Pat McAfee's show yesterday, and, he was talking about the Kansas City game, and obviously, Mahomes, and, you're talking about two of the best quarterbacks in the game on the same field. And now, that's not going to happen. And, to the point about State Farm, it definitely seemed like they had something in the bag, because the actor that plays Jake in those commercials is going to be at the game. He revealed that yesterday. So quite a disaster here, I think, for Rodgers. And boy, does this give Jordan Love an opportunity. Jordan Love now gets a shot to go play a Kansas City team with a porous defense. I saw the Miami Dolphins play. They have something of a defense. The Chiefs, I don't know what's happening there. The three of us could go run routes against that defense. Jordan Love's got an opportunity here, and if he shines, it's going to be a very interesting conversation the rest of the way about whether or not the Packers bring back Aaron Rodgers in 2022.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready to do the picks?
Yeah, Ritz is.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got a close-up view of Ritz's chin. Justin, you okay? You freeze?
Yeah, he must have froze.
He must have froze. Okay.
Well, we'll wait for him to get back here.
Well, we can start the picks, and we'll just let him go last. So for this,
Yeah, because you make your picks first. Anyway,
so. All right, Packers. Sans Aaron Rodgers at Kansas City. Kansas City is now a 7.5-point favorite. And, I'll tell you, it's tempting to pick the Chiefs, but you know something? They didn't look good Monday night. They struggled against the Giants. This is a team that they really should have put away pretty easily. And that's a team with Daniel Jones at quarterback. Now, I'm not saying Jordan Love is any better or any worse than Daniel Jones. But, I think the Packers have a good enough defense, have enough on offense. I think they can cover the 7.5 against Kansas City. I think Kansas City wins, but I don't think they win by 8. I think the Packers can cover the 7.5. So I'm picking the Packers to cover. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, this game here, obviously with Rodgers being out, it's certainly difficult for the Packers. But to your point, Chris, the Chiefs aren't exactly lighting it up. So I think that in this matchup, probably the Chiefs win, but I'm not picking them to cover. That's a pretty risky bet. As we've learned, as we've all learned at different points with the Chiefs, that it's just not safe betting on this team to cover. I think that the Packers can keep it reasonably close. The Chiefs' offense doesn't look as good as it usually does. Looks like they're struggling a bit there. I mentioned the defense. I took a bit of a shot there. The Packers, though, let's see what Jordan Love has. And, that defense has played pretty well this season. So, I think that those, as long as that can hold up, it'll remain a close game. I will pick the Packers to cover in this one.
All right. Justin, just so you're aware, I did pick the Packers to cover the 7.5. I think their defense is good enough. And Kansas City isn't exactly lighting the world on fire. They struggle to beat the Giants. So go ahead. Who are you picking?
Yeah, had some internet connection issues, so I switched over to my phone. So sorry about that. Robert, I'm sure you made some great points about Jordan Love that I will catch later. This is a difficult one because I've said that I'm never picking the Chiefs again. And this line, jumped around like the Chiefs were originally favored by 3 with Rodgers playing. Then it dropped. I think it was maybe a 1-point spread at one point, a pick 'em maybe. And obviously, now it's jumped to over a touchdown. Man, this is tough. It's like the team that never covers, the Chiefs, versus the team that almost always covers, the Packers. But Jordan Love is just such a complete unknown. I can't, I got to stick with my word. I said I would never pick the Chiefs again. I'm not going to go back on it. Aaron Rodgers or not. I think the Packers, I hope the Packers will cover. But I don't know. I'm spent.
This has to be the first time that we've all agreed on a game in a while because we've been all over the place. All right. Our next game, the Battle of the Buckeye State, otherwise known as Cleveland at Cincinnati. Bengals coming off a shocking loss to the Jets. Oh, man, that killed me in the survivor pool. I was in the second chance, and I'm gone now. Browns have some dysfunction, man. Odell Beckham Jr. has been told to stay home. Why didn't this happen before the trade deadline? I mean, it would have been a lot easier. They could have dumped him for something like a 5th-round draft pick or something. But now they're stuck with this guy. And that's the reason why I'm picking the Bengals to cover. It's 2.5. Bengals just have to win by a field goal. They're the home team. division game, throw in the cliches, Browns dysfunctional. Baker Mayfield not 100%. Bengals need to get a win really badly after that stinkeroo against the Jets. I'm going with the Bengals to cover the 2.5. Go ahead, Justin.
The Browns are another one of those teams that when I bet against them, they prove me wrong. When I bet for them, they prove me wrong. So I'm sure it'll be the same this week. I just think Joe Burrow's a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. He's a healthier quarterback than Baker Mayfield. I don't think this is a unreasonable spread. So I'll take the Bengals to bounce back. And I think Jamar Chase will have a nice day.
Robert?
Yeah, I don't like what's happening with the Browns. Too much drama. Baker Mayfield's banged up. That team's been struggling. The Bengals, look, the Titans lost to the Jets. The Jets have been this kind of giant killer in a way this year because obviously they stink. I mean, they've lost to the Patriots twice, but they beat the Titans and they beat the Bengals. And they do play 2 against the Bills, which gives you some pause. Make sure that they don't overlook those games later this year. But I think the Bengals are a better team. Obviously the offense high flying there with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. The defense has played pretty good, so I'm going to take them in this one. I think they can win comfortably in this AFC North clash.
Wow, we all agree on the first 2 games. That's amazing. All right. Our next game,
for 2.
The Arizona Cardinals at the 49ers. This is a pick 'em. And the Cardinals coming off their first loss of the season. Again, here's another team that you could say that, they were disappointing last week. They definitely laid an egg. And they need to win this game. The Niners, here's a team that's had injuries and has been up and down and everything. And, division game, of course. I love mentioning that because I know Robert just hates it when I do it. But because the fact that it's a pick 'em, it just makes it so much easier to pick the Cardinals, and that's who I'm going with. I'm picking the Cardinals to win the pick 'em. So go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals in this one. The Niners to me just they're an inconsistent team, tough to figure out. They had that loss to the Colts a couple weeks ago. Tough to get this team figured out. So I'm going to ride with the Cardinals. That was a close game they played against the Packers. But certainly they missed some shots, I think, to win that one. But it did show that this team has some flaws. For all the talk about the high-flying offense and the defense, of course, if Kyler's not playing up to par, this team can struggle. So that's something to watch, especially in these NFC West games, because these teams over the years have had each other's number. There's times when certainly a team that's favored has lost to one of these division rivals. But I like the Cardinals in this one. Just think they're a better team, and I think they'll beat the Niners.
Justin.
Well, we're not all going to agree on this game.
Yeah.
The Niners were another team that I said I'm never betting on again, but I'm going against my word. I was not at all impressed by the Cardinals last Thursday night. I think that game was closer than it should have been, considering the Packers did have a touchdown taken off the board that even kind of made that final drive relevant. But the thing with the Cardinals is, Kyler Murray's hurt. He's got a sprained ankle. So this dazzling, scrambling quarterback that we've come to know, he might not be that kind of guy against the 49ers. And B, what's the Cardinals' weakness? Their run defense is atrocious. And that's exactly where the 49ers are going to attack them. That's exactly where the 49ers are good. I think this is a bad matchup for the Cardinals again. So I like the 49ers. You got to remember, these teams played only, 3 weeks ago. Jimmy G, not saying he's some kind of savior, but he didn't play that week. Trey Lance did and looked completely lost. And yet the Cardinals only won 17-10. I think the Niners are a little healthier now. They have a actual NFL caliber quarterback. Again, not saying Jimmy G's that great, but I like the Niners in this situation. I think the Niners are probably going to be that team that grabs one of those wild card spots in the NFC. So this will be a big game for them.
All right, our last game, the Tennessee Titans, without Derrick Henry, he's going to be out for a while with a foot injury, up against the LA Rams. The Rams, they just continue to chug along. You know, I almost think the hype's kind of died down a little bit with them, but now they trade for Von Miller from the Broncos to fortify that defense even more. You know, look, the Titans, this is all going to be on Ryan Tannehill's shoulders now. And being a Dolphins fan, I know firsthand that you don't want to put the game in Ryan Tannehill's hands. He's a better quarterback with a good running game behind him, and he's not going to have that per se. I still think the Titans can run the football. Boy, this is a big spread. This is the only game that we're picking that I've been waffling on, going back and forth, and you know, this is a 7.5 is a big spread. But call me crazy. I'm gonna go with the Rams to cover the 7.5. I think that being home, you know, they just Matthew Stafford. I just like the Rams. Call it a gut feeling. I think the Rams are gonna put up some points, even though the Titans do have a very good defense. I think the Rams can cover the 7.5. I'm gonna regret this. I know I'm gonna lose this game. I can feel it already, but my gut says take the Rams. Go ahead, Robert.
Chris, regarding Tannehill, you have to remember that he's not being held down by Crazy Eyes Gase, and he actually has some receivers to throw to, you know, on this particular team. So a little bit of a different situation for him with Tennessee compared to that bum franchise down in South Florida. Regarding this game, without Derrick Henry, you know, I think Tannehill can throw it and win, but the Titans are a much better offense with Derrick Henry out there who, you know, without him, I think we're going to see just how much better that offense is, or, you know, how much this offense takes a hit because of the lack of his presence. You know, he's just a dominant force that forces teams. And this happened to the Bills a couple weeks ago. You know, the Bills had to play the run, and, you know, he beat them a few times with the run, but it also opened up opportunities for Tannehill to have success through the air. I think he can have success without Henry, but it's going to be tough, especially if teams decide to play for the pass and basically make Tannehill beat them with his arm, which I think he can do against most teams, but the Rams aren't in that group. I think the Rams are a much better team. That pass rush just got, bolstered in a big way with Von Miller. You already have Aaron Donald on that line. That defense is pretty solid, you know. And then on offense, they've been just lighting it up. So I'm taking them to cover in this one. 7.5 is a big spread, as you mentioned, Chris. But, you know, I just like them in this one. I think that this game, especially that first game without Derrick Henry, the Titans are going to be a little shaky. So I think the Rams will really set the tone in this one.
Who do you got, Justin?
Well, had Derrick Henry been healthy for this game, I was 100% picking the Titans, just because I don't think that Rams defense, they were the number one defense in football last year, and they just haven't been as high quality this season. I was just waiting for the matchup where they kind of got exposed a little bit on defense. But yeah, the Titans aren't really, without Derrick Henry, suddenly this becomes a great matchup for the Rams defense, because, you figure you just throw Jalen Ramsey on A.J. Brown. Maybe Julio Jones plays, but he hasn't been healthy all year, so he's not really a major threat. And then suddenly, if you take A.J. Brown out of the game, you don't have Derrick Henry. Well, then how are the Titans scoring points? And then on the other side, obviously Matt Stafford, while I've certainly been critical of him over the years, and I think his move to LA was a little overstated in terms of how that would change the NFC. He's been great this year statistically. There's no denying that, and the Titans don't have the kind of defense that's going to shut down the Rams. So, 7.5 is a lot, but I don't think this is the kind of Titans team without Derrick Henry that can really match up with them. So then it's I think it's a Sunday night game. McVay pulls out his best tricks. And I think the Rams probably win this by 2 touchdowns.
All right, guys. So we do have one more NFL topic to talk about, and this is a sad one. This is the story about Henry Ruggs, former wide receiver, first-round draft pick of the Raiders, who was allegedly, because he hasn't been convicted yet, we have to say allegedly, drunk driving, killed a person, I believe a child, and was driving 150 miles an hour. Blood alcohol count twice the legal limit. I mean, it's just a tragic, horrible story. We've talked about these things before. There's no excuse for drinking and driving today. If you're an NFL player, you are basically given a number that you can call, and someone, a service will come pick you up and bring you home safely. Henry decided not to use that and decided to try to drive, and his career is gone. His freedom should be gone, no doubt about it. This guy should be going to prison for a very, very long time, like double digits in years, to be honest with you. And he will be paying a large amount of money to the person who passed away's family, which is still small solace over the loss of a life. It's just a sad story, pathetic story. And Henry Ruggs needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And maybe other NFL players will finally get the message that if you go out and drink, again, nothing wrong with that, but if you go out and drink, you don't drive, and you take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you because you are an NFL player, and do these things. Go ahead, Justin. I'll let you take first crack at this one.
Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward here. A young person made a terrible decision, and he's ruined his own life and ruined the lives of others, whether it be, taking someone else's life, or, as you said, the family members of those who just lost a loved one. So yeah, it's really, even for people who make, moderate salaries, there's no excuse to go out and get hammered and not call an Uber. Like, those services are easily available. Even if you have a 15-minute drive and it costs you $40, is it worth the risk that you could get yourself into an accident or injure someone else? It's just not worth it, plain and simple. And again, it's unfortunate that multiple lives are being affected by someone's reckless decision. I will say, wherever Henry Ruggs was that night, someone had to serve him those drinks, and the people that saw that he was overserved and obviously intoxicated and continued to allow him to drink to the extent that, he was twice over the legal limit. I wonder if there'll be some accountability for those people as well, whatever establishment he was at that night.
No, great point. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, this is just a terrible story all the way around, because I did check. It was a 23-year-old woman who lost her life, and the facts that came out today were just downright scary. That not only was he driving with a blood alcohol level of twice the legal limit, but he was speeding at such speeds that they're hard to fathom. And I drove a Chevy Equinox, and I'm not going 150 miles an hour down the speedway or down the highway. He was doing 156 miles an hour shortly before the crash. Just insanity. Apparently he was driving a Corvette, and those cars, they can get to those speeds pretty quickly. Unfortunately, for this young woman who died and her family, that's something that they have to live with now forever. Her loss, and for Ruggs, this was a guy that was a first-round pick last year. I think he was really coming into his own this year as one of these receivers that, especially in this league, you don't need to be 6'5" to make a statement. I think he was a little undersized, maybe 5'10", 5'11", but he had speed. And the Raiders, as we know over the years, that's what they like about their receivers. And he was really showing promise this year, and just threw it all away, all over alcohol, all over this fast car, and going and speeding and getting behind the wheel when he shouldn't have. I agree with Ritz. There should be some additional accountability for the people who continue to serve him. But there's nothing good that comes out of this. He threw his career away. A woman's life has been taken. And hopefully this is a reminder for everybody, not just pro athletes, but everybody, that this is what you risk when you drink and get behind the wheel. It's never a good decision, no matter how much you have to drink. I know that, in covering politicians and in covering, just ordinary people, they always say, oh, well, I thought I was okay. It's never okay. And sometimes you don't know your own limits. And, clearly here, Henry Ruggs didn't. He paid a price, and this young woman paid the ultimate price, unfortunately. So, tough lessons all the way around, but don't drink and drive. That's the biggest thing.
Yep, it is true. All right, gentlemen, as always, honor and a pleasure to be with you on this video. Folks, we appreciate you tuning in and watching us, whether you're watching us live or watching us afterward, but we do appreciate your support as always. Enjoy the games, be safe, don't drink and drive, obviously, and we'll see you next week.